Hello everyone, welcome to another Bone Studio live streaming. And yes, this is kind of weird live streaming because we are on quarantine here in Spain. I'm not sure if I pronounced this in English correctly, but we are on quarantine, so we cannot go out. We can do nothing but to stay at home. Maybe some people can go to work, not everyone, because some people work in commercial space. So they work for public, and those stores and those places are closed, except for groceries. But so it's been like some weird days here in Spain, and I think all over the world. So a good live streaming is a great idea to kind of think about something else. And luckily we had a few days ago, a week I think, or a week I think it was, we have LuxCore render engine 2.3 released. And why is it so important? Let me lower the music because I think it's kind of too high. Okay, much better. So why is it so important? Because at least for us, it meant that we changed our final delivery quality quite a lot. And it's not because of Cycles being a bad render engine. Cycles it's a very good render engine. You all know I love Cycles. I really love Cycles. But in Cycles we miss, for the time being at least, several things that we need for daily work. And because of that, some months ago, we started looking for an alternative render engine for architectural visualization, because Cycles is very good for animation work, character animation work, for cartoon or for realistic animation work, but it misses some things for architectural visualization. And not just it misses some things, but it also misses some speed. No matter if you have optics, it misses some speed when you're rendering an interior scene. And for us, it was pretty important. Cycles behave very good in exterior scenes, but in interior scenes, it was too slow. And I know that what I mean with too slow, it means like between 10 to 15 minutes for a 1080p picture. And while that's not slow per se, it's slow when you want to render a proper architectural visualization animation, or it's slow when you want a clean interior scene. So I started looking for alternatives inside the Blender sphere. And I knew that we had Radeon Pro Render, that CBS, I know I owe you a review of Radeon Pro Render, I don't forget it. And we have also other commercial options like the Otoi one, I don't remember the name by the way. And we have at the gates of being at least released in some kind of beta, we have Redshift, and it seems that V-Ray is being completely developed from the ground up for Blender 2.8. So we have several options in the present and for the future. But after looking at all the options, I can say that the best option we could get was LuxCore. And I was not sure if it was the best option, because usually third-party render engines are slow exporting the scenes. Theoretically, because Python has some limitations that cannot be overcome. But in general, they're very slow. And I was wondering if Octane, that was Octane. I was wondering if that speed could be optimized or not. And LuxCore demonstrated Biop, the developer. I think we have Biop here, or he will be here later, I'm not sure, but he's the Blender add-on developer, and he demonstrated that in fact the export speed of LuxCore can be in many cases as fast as Cycles. I have not experienced any situation where it was slower than Cycles, since he did several improvements and several modifications. Because if you try LuxCore 2.2, then yes, you will experience a much slower export speed. But with 2.3, oh, things change. So I'm going to start playing with the render engine so you can all understand what I'm talking about. So we are here. You can see I have cycles here, and we can enable cycles. And okay, it's the same cycles as always. In this case, I'm not in Bone Master. This is just master. Okay, I just compiled master. Let me drink a bit. Okay, Simon, great, you are here. So I just compiled master, and I just installed LuxCore. Okay, so how can you enable LuxCore? It's easy enough. You go here, of course you have the add-on enable. I don't have to show you how to install and enable an add-on. I hope so. So you go to LuxCore, and that's it. And we are in LuxCore. Did you notice the change? So we went from Cycles to LuxCore. Did you notice the speed? This is the viewport render, okay? And there is no slow experience here. And now I have to clarify one thing. I'm cheating a bit because this is a super simple scene. But this is under CPU. So it's not so much cheating, because in the end, Cycles would have to do the same export process for the scene. So we can try to do one simple test that will show you the improvements in the exporting speed. So let me do a thing, and this was a test we did for testing especially this. So let's increase this. Okay, this 59 meters by 59, it's okay. Let me put 100 meters by 100 meters. Simon, I think you know what I'm going to test right now. It's going to be a fast test. I'm in Cycles right now. Okay, I changed the render engine. I'm in Cycles. I'm going to use particles, all the particles in the frame 1. We don't want any physics, or at least we don't want any speed. So let's define this. No, we don't want any physics. So let's put simple. Okay, let's use hair. Okay. So we have this here, and we have a number. I don't know why I'm not seeing the hair. Hello, hair. Where are you? Let's put some light in this scene. I don't know why I can't see here. Okay, let's use emitters. Let's use particles. So we have these particles, 10,000 particles. And let's go to, yeah, okay, 10,000 particles. And let's instance a monkey. Okay? Instead of instancing a sphere, we are going to use a monkey. And let's go to render, object. Let's get the monkey. And then we have tiny monkeys. Not so big. 0.5. And a bit of scale randomness. Yeah, it's okay. It should be enough. So let's move the camera so we can see everything. Okay. And you may think, What are you doing, Juan? Well, I'm testing the speed export of cycles. The normal is at 0. Okay, you're right. You're right. Thank you, Jasper. It's probably because of this. Where is the normal? Maybe because of this. Yeah, that was it. Thanks. Okay, this is okay. It's enough. Okay, it's enough. Let's render this. Let's add a sun, just to have some kind of light. And we can try this in viewport, and it's just the normal cycles viewport, okay? And we can render this. So let's give 100 samples. We are on CPU, okay? I want to compare apples to apples. And the export time, it's nearly instant, right? Okay, let's try with LuxCore. The render time is going to differ because I'm not going to put anything special. Let's try just 25 samples, super low. And let's render this. That's it. Quite similar, right? Cycles, Lux, cycles, Lux, cycles, Lux, cycles, Lux. We can go. Cycles, okay. Okay, let's increase the bet a bit. Let's render 100,000 particles. So let's go to cycles. .1. Let's press render, and that's it, right? Pretty instant. Let's leave this finish, and let's go to LuxCore, and let's press render. It takes a bit more, but that's it. Well, I think it takes a bit more, just it's a visual effect, because I don't think it takes a bit more. So once again, cycles, LuxCore, okay? And now let's increase the bit. The bet, not the bit. I don't know why I keep saying bit. Let's increase the bet, but I don't want to kill the viewport. So let's use children. We go to interpolated, and now it's going to be killed. 0 display amount, and 10. And this should give us 1 million particles, okay? So let's go to cycles, and let's press render. It takes a bit more, right? But that's it. Now it starts. Perfect. We have here 1 million particles. Or my camera view is on top. Yeah, but okay, because I'm going to layout. Thanks, TVS. So let's leave this finished because I'm not going to change any setting here. So no matter if my camera is here. And I'm going to the live streaming workspace. Now much better. Now let's change these 1 million particles to LuxCore, and we go to rendering. Okay, this was cycles. I shifted the render slots, and let's press F12. You can see here the progress of the export, and that's it. It should start with the render now. You can see it's calculating some things, and that's it. I would say it's pretty similar. Simon, our particle export is still partly Python until render has a C API. It will never be the same speed. Simon, you say it will never the same speed as cycles, but for me it's kind of the same speed right now. We are on 1 million particles. Do you want me to test 10 million particles? Let's test 10 million particles, right? But let's do a thing. I want live streaming. I want to reduce the size of the objects. But Simon says, but it's a lot faster than in our last stable release. For 100,000 particles, the time went down from 33 seconds to 1.3 seconds. Exactly. Pelagalian, yeah, my computer is fast, but in this case, there is not much of a difference. There's not a lot of difference because the export phase in both Cycles and LuxCore are not entirely multi-threaded, and they cannot leverage all the threads in the computer. It's as simple as that. So it's not so important the computer you have. Okay, let's increase the particle amount to children to 10 millions. Do you think it will die? I'm not sure. Let me go to live streaming and create a folder and 10 million particles. Let's go to Cycles and let's press render. Here we are. It will take a bit. We could try rendering just one sample, so the render stops at the very beginning of the render, and we could experience the actual export and pre-process time. So there are other things that came into play that I think LuxCore is faster than Cycles to pre-process via scenes in general. This is a general opinion. I have not done any proper test, so I cannot assure you that. But I think the VVH part that in Cycles take a lot more, in LuxCore is a bit faster. So even if you have kind of a bit slower export time for some scenes, it's kind of leveled with the pre-process time. Stefan Dorner, you are on Linux Mint, right? Very nice. Yes, it's Linux Mint. I have to update it to the latest version. I have not updated yet, but yes, I'm on Mint. Okay, now it's initializing. 1 minute 12 seconds. It's copying transformation to device. The device is CPU. It's not GPU. I have not tried the GPU yet. 1 minute 24 seconds, 27. We can say 1 minute and a half. 1 minute and 33 seconds. Okay, I'm not going to allow this to finish the render. 1 minute and 53 seconds for Cycles. Let's go to LuxCore. Let's go to LuxCore and let's experience the export time. It may be slower, who knows? I will put the terminal here. Now it's starting the process. You will make the same life of the new LuxCore render in Spanish? Yes, Christian, I will. I'm not sure when, but I will. So you can see here that the good thing is that we can observe the export process of LuxCore. That is something that we cannot clearly do with Cycles, at least for the time being. So that's pretty cool. We know that it has processed 3.5 million particles. We're at 43, 44 seconds, 45. I think it may be some seconds slower than Cycles. But hey, we are talking here about 10 million particles. So not bad. 6 million, 1 minute and 4 seconds. 7 million, 1 minute at 7 million and a half, 1 minute, 11 seconds. 8 million. Come on. But you can see how it will be on pair to Cycles. It was 1 minute, 33 seconds, okay? 10 millions, 1 minute and 30 seconds. And it takes a bit more to start the render now. Remember, this is a super simple scene, no textures, not anything, just a bunch of instances. It takes a while. So in this case, we can see a bit of difference. You can see that it's a bit slower, but anyways, it's not much slower. It's not far from cycles. And that's a pretty good thing. Unless it crashes. But I don't think it's crashing. Let's test this. Let's check this. No, there is one CPU at 100%. And that's it. 1 minute more in this case. But it was just one thread at 100%. Maybe there is something that could be improved here, Simon. What do you think? Here we are. So not bad. The export time, it started 1 minute after cycles. The export time has been, according to Lux, 2 minutes and 23 seconds, but I think it's doing something more. I think it's doing something more. But from 1 minute 33 seconds to 2 minutes 23 seconds is kind of a 1 minute more. But for this kind of tests, it's not bad. If you try Radeon Pro Render, it will crash. And I know because a person, Plasma Peppers, I think it is his nickname, a person in the LuxCore Discord server tested this, and I think it was Radeon Pro Render was crashing with this amount of particles. I think it's pretty much at the limit. For anything better, we would need C API. Okay, but not bad. It's good. It's great. So let's continue. There is a question here. Does the hair support LuxCore? Yes, LuxCore supports, but it's a lot better than other external renders for them. Yes, for sure. It's way better than other external renders. Noah. Yes, LuxCore supports hair, but it does not support hair shader per se. It does not have principal shader support for the time being. We will have it in the future, right, Simon? Okay, we can test the hair thing if you want. It should be fast. We go here, we go to particles, hair particles, 0.5. Let's apply the scale. It's important with LuxCore that you always apply the scale, check the normal orientation. It's important that you try to give LuxCore the most clean, the cleanest scene you can give to it, because it will not be as permissive as cycles with things like inverted normals. So that's important to know. So now we have this. You can see that we have hair. But we can increase the amount of hairs to, for example, 10,000, and then we go to interpolate it. We can simulate the hair a bit. Okay, let's reduce this. For example, let's use 100 and let's check what happens. But my camera is in the same place, and you can see that this was super fast. Let me bring the camera here. And that's it. And you have here. You have hair here. Okay, so we have hair support in LuxCore, but we don't have a proper hair shader specifically designed for it. The cool idea is to have the principal hair to be supported by LuxCore. Enrique Blanco. Cycles with real sky add-on is similar result to LuxCore, right? Yes and no, because what is similar is the real sky add-on. It's, for me, it's the best physical sky add-on out there for cycles. It's the best sky, and the author is going to release the 2.0 soon, I think. But LuxCore has some different things, some other things that we will see in a minute. I'm not sure how much time we are here. 25 minutes, and I just saw the export time. Oh my god. Okay, let's go a bit faster. Let me go. I'm thinking in taking an actual production scene. Yes, let me try scenes, and we have some things here. No, scenes, interiors. Yes, this one. Test looks. Before base text looks. This one. So we have this scene. Let me pick my live streaming. We have this scene. This is the scene I used to test the change from cycles to LuxCore. So we can do the same test I did in that moment. So we can go to cycles, and I have to explain some things about cycles materials. Sorry, about LuxCore materials. There's one cool thing about LuxCore shaders. That is that they won't overwrite your cycle shaders. I'm not sure if other render engines behave the same, but in LuxCore you can have your normal standard cycle shader. So we go here and we can go to Seder Editor, and you see that I have my principal shader here. But then I can go to my render engine. Let's reduce this. That's right. I can go to LuxCore, and it will happen two things. For start, in this scene, I have enabled use cycles nodes, and this means that LuxCore will try to do the best it can to interpret the cycles materials. Okay, so if you have, in this case, for example, for the glass, I don't have use cycles nodes, but you can see here that the cycle principal BSDF is there. This cycle shader is there. Why? Because when you create a specific LuxCore shader, it won't overwrite your cycles shaders. This means that the scene, every scene you have in cycles can be reworked to work in LuxCore, but can be kept compatible with cycles. And in my opinion, this is a very cool thing to have. So I will show you this. In this case, I will go to cycles again, and well, I will do just a render. Let me try. Let me change this to GPU. In this computer, I just have a 1080, GTX 1080, so it won't be super fast. GTX 1080, and I won't compare the speeds right now, but just the GTX 1080. And this cycle, it should work as normal. Okay, it works. Let's modify the color management. This is another difference with Lux. I will speak about it later. Let's go to -5. I know this is the correct, okay, the correct exposure for this scene in my case. We don't have any sun here, I think. Let me search for sun. Yes, we have one sun. How is it oriented? Why I cannot see the sun? Let's check. Nothing is disabled. Okay, I think I have real sky. Let me check in the add-ons. I may have disabled. Yes. Real sky. I'm not sure the version, but it should work. Oh, great! It's not fault of real sky. It's actually my fault because I think the add-on is not up to date. So let's go back to this scene, and let's go here, and let's go to the, hey, no, I don't want LuxCore yet. Let's go back to color management, -5, and I'm going to create a sun all by myself. Sun, okay, there is no sun. Hello, Pablo Miranda, Ipono. Hello, Michael Krusniak. Krusiniak, sorry. So, sun. I have to probably, what's happening with the sun here? It's because the, okay, it's because the strength, of course. So, okay, this is okay. This should be good. So we have this scene in cycles, and we are going to render this scene in cycles. And let's render for 300 samples, for example. I want something fast. And I want, as I said, this is not Bone Master, so we don't have many of the improvements we have in our build, but it's not too problematic. But in this case, I will try the progressive multi-jitter and the adaptive sampling in automatic mode. And that's it. That's it. Let's render this. By the way, 1080p, but at 50%. I don't want to render here up to the end of the time. And 16 by 16 in the tiles. LuxCore doesn't work with HDR image. Why not? Yes, of course it works. It perfectly works with HDR images. CBS, is there any performance issue if we select CPU and GPU at the same time, or is it only selectable in the render properties? You mean in LuxCore? No, in fact, LuxCore leverages way more the CPU plus GPU than Cycles. It has a better leveling of the performance. Cycles with real scaling. Okay, I already read that. Power relation for environment and sun is 1:3. 1:3. Okay, we have our environment. It's a sky. I'm not sure the result right now, but we have this here. Okay, 15 seconds. As I said, I won't take the time right now into account, but I will try to give this like 15 seconds for the render to LuxCore. So let's go to slot 2, and let's see if we have LuxCore correctly configured. We enable this. Of course, we have to remove the exposure in the color management, because in Lux we have the exposure control inside the camera. So we go to the camera and we have linear and auto brightness in this case, but we can disable auto brightness and we can go to camera settings and we can start working with this. And in this case, I just want linear, and we can work with this value. So let me check. Okay, we won't be able to check this because we have changed the color management. This should be okay. 6. Okay. Use OpenCL. Yes. Why is not selected? Okay. Use OpenCL. We are on Lux. I'm going to save, and let's try to give Lux a halt condition, because Lux is not going to stop the render by itself if you don't tell Lux to stop the render. So you have to enable LuxCore halt conditions, and you can use time, you can use samples, and you can use noise threshold. But in general, we use samples. So in this case, we are going to use 15 seconds, but this is not going to work, at least not as you expect. Why? Because I'm going to enable OpenCL, and if we go to performance, we have GPU devices, the GTX 1080, and we have CPU devices. So in this case, if we want to render just with the CPU, we have to change this to CPU. But if we want to render with the GPU and the CPU, we have to enable the CPU here. Okay, you can disable the CPU in case you just want to use the GPU. And too many GPU words. So it's okay. And now we are going to observe one of the caveats LuxCore 2.3 have, that LuxCore 2.4 will remove. So, and I'm not sure if Simon, tell me if the LuxCore daily build is right now in 2.4 already, because I want to test that version so much that I will download it after the live streaming. So now we are here and we can press render, but we'll have one thing, that is that Lux needs to compile the kernels. Lux 2.3 needs to compile the kernels, not as much as with 2.2, as you can see here. And why I'm seeing this so burned? Why is it burned? What happened here? Everything's okay here. I broke something. Oh, daily builds are on 2.4. LuxCore right now needs to compile the OpenCL kernel when you change some things in the scene. But in 2.4, Lux will behave in the same way cycles behave with optics or with OpenCL. It will compile the kernel once for each time you install the version of the render, and you can forget about it. So that's one super cool new feature that we will have in 2.4. So what happened here? I'm not sure what happened here. Have the camera. Okay, let's enable auto brightness just in case. And let's render again. In this case, the compile time was pretty low, but the second time you render, you can see that it worked pretty fine, it worked fast, but if you have a much bigger scene, it can take a while. It can take from seconds to some minutes. So okay, we have this one. I'm not sure why we have this way. Do I have? We have two suns. No, I want my sun to be the sun. That was the problem, I think. And the sun is correctly configured. Okay. This scene this scene has the old Lux configuration, so I may change the scene. I may change the scene because we should not have the old light configuration, and I think that's the problem. So let me do one thing. I'm going to create a new scene, and I'm going to append everything here. This one, and let's import everything, append. Of course, I will lose the cycles. Yes, I will use the cycles configuration too, but I can open the scene in cycles later. So not a big deal. No, I don't want this camera. I think I want this camera. Yes, okay. So let's change to LuxCore. Let's configure the sky with the sun. Exposure, it's okay. And now let's check what's happening here in the camera, because I have the gain. Okay, the gain to 1. And that's much better. It was my fault, of course. So let's try HAL conditions, 15 seconds. 1080p, 50%. And let's render. I will recover the cycles version later. So now you can see that we have the materials. The glass is respected. Why? Because while we have our cycles material, we also have our LuxCore material. So if we go to Seder Editor, you can see the principal VSDF, but if we go to LuxCore material nodes, you can see that we have our glass material here. And Lux is going to use the Lux shaders as long as you don't have this check enabled. If you don't have use cycles not enabled, it will use the LuxCore shaders. If you enable this, it will try to use the cycle shaders. But there are some limitations right now. And for example, in this case, the walls don't have the matte paint white. It uses the cycles node. You can press this button to change from the from the cycle Seder Editor to the Lux Seder Editor. And I think in the future we will have everything inside the cycle Seder Editor, but the shaders will differ because we will have a different output for its render engine. So now we have this here, but if we try to enable transmission, it won't work. Okay, transmission, the principal VSDF won't work because it's not supported in the principal VSDF in the Disney shader inside LuxCore. Okay, it will be supported in the future, but right now it's not supported. So some things will not be supported. For example, RGB curves are not supported either. I'm not sure if they do something or not. I think they do nothing. No, in fact, you cannot get even the color out of them. Okay, they are not supported at all. And there was another, I don't remember, Simon, what was the other node that was not supported? I don't remember. Hello, Marcos. Is summit occlusion on in environment? You mean in cycles? No, it's not. And of course, in Lux it's not either. It has not ambient occlusion per se. So there is another node. I don't remember the other node, but not all the nodes are supported. But in general, the most important nodes are supported. So for example, I can use a ramp, and it will be supported. Okay, so I can change this. I can change this to, I don't know, to red, and you can see how this gets a reddish color. Okay, pink color. So the most important things are supported. There is a list of supported nodes in our issues section. Great. A lot of them are not supported. We didn't miss a lot of the nodes, to be honest. We didn't miss a lot of the nodes. Yeah, Penny, I will show the caustics in this scene. But before, I want to show another thing. That is that we have this render result in 15 seconds, but I'm going to enable another cool thing. One of the coolest things in LuxCore that are the caches. Okay, so if we go here, we have LuxCore caches, or however you want to say it in English, and we can enable three types of caches. We have Photon GI cache, that is the one you must enable, I think, always. I don't think any reason to not enable this cache, because you can even disable the cache for some shaders if you need to. If we go to LuxCore material nodes, you can disable the use Photon GI cache. So I don't know why you would want to not enable Photon GI cache. So I'm going to enable Photon GI cache, and inside this you have indirect light cache, caustic light cache, and persistence. Okay, well, I'm not going to use persistence now, but indirect light cache and caustic light cache. We have another one that is environment light cache, that it works like auto portals. So it will optimize the scene for interior renders. Don't enable this one for exterior render. It won't do anything good. It won't improve the render speed on anything, at least right now, based on my experience. And in the end, we have another type of cache that is the direct light sampling cache. In cycles, you may know the initiative called many light sampling, and this type of cache is designed to render a scene with a lot of lights. For example, a night scene in a city. This is specifically designed to render this kind of scenes. So right now I just enabled Photon GI cache, and I hope it doesn't crash because I'm not sure. Test. It should not crash, but I'm not sure about this version of Blender. I mean, so let's go to, oh, of course. Before I enable this, I forgot to enable OpenCL. So let's do the same test with OpenCL enabled. Meanwhile the kernels are being compiled, you can see that we have here some warnings about problems you may have in the scene, like you have this cycle Seder with this unsupported node, or you have this object with this problem, and different things. Now we are on GPU. 15 seconds. Let's check that we have 15 seconds in the render. We should. Did I enable the halt conditions, by the way? I think I didn't. Yes, I did not. We now have a use cycle settings button that can convert most settings of a cycle scene, so it looks the same in Lux. That's cool. But I prefer to translate the scene manually. Okay, here we have 16 seconds of render, and we have this amount of noise. I will open another window later for cycles with the other scene. And now we have this one, and we are going to enable the cache. Oh, it was enabled. Okay, let me test without the cache, so we can compare the improvement in the result. And let's compare the slots, the current one with the slot 2. Okay, so you can see that we have here, what we have is that we are not using any kind of cache. This is similar to what Cycles does. If we go to the slot 2, where the Photon GI cache was enabled, you can see the improvement right away. It's pretty obvious. So the render time is the same one. The amount of samples, it's a bit bigger in the cache version. No, in fact, it's a bit bigger in the non-cache version, but the noise level, it's way lower in the cache version. Okay, this is the cache version, this is the non-cache version. Now let's do another test, and let's enable Photon GI cache and environment light cache. So let's try this. You have to keep in mind that the cache building takes a while for bigger scenes. So in this scene, this is small, you can see the photon trace cache. This is small, but in bigger scenes it can take a bit more, especially the environment light cache. And you can see how the memory is increased from 304 megabytes to 670 megabytes. So no cache, Photon GI cache, and with environment light cache. Okay, Photon GI and with environment. In this case, I think we can see a bit less noise in this part. This is a Photon GI, no cache, and with environment GI. Okay, so this is one of the coolest things of LuxCore, the cache system. It's accelerating a lot the interior rendering phase, but it's accelerating it a lot. I don't know how to say it, but really, really a lot. So let me try another thing that I'm going to open the same scene with master. Hello Blender. Okay, and we are going to open this one, and we are going to enable cycles. Let me reduce this to -5. Okay, we have the scene rendering. 50% is configured, And we said 300 samples, it was 15 seconds. So let's render this. And in this case, I'm using CPU plus GPU, the same as in LuxCore. Okay. So we have, let me reduce this a bit. We have cycles and we have LuxCore. They look very similar, but if you look closely, what can be seen like a small difference, this amount of noise here, it's way less noise, there is way less noise in Lux than in cycles. Way less noise. And when you render a complex scene, this will be very noticeable. So the same goes here. And you have to keep in mind another thing that I have not enabled in Lux, and we have enabled in cycles. We have clamping in cycles. Okay, we have indirect clamping to 300, and we can enable clamping in LuxCore too. So let me test this, and let me check if I'm showing the whole window. Okay, so we can enable clamping in LuxCore. Let's enable clamping. We can go to clamping, and there's one cool thing that when you render one time with the without the clamping, it will compute the suggested value for the clamping for you. So we can just press here and it will put the value here. However, I usually tend to use a bit bigger value here. So instead of 1.3, I'm going to use 2. So let's go to slot 5 and render this. Hello, Mr. One. LuxCore is interesting. How are the times of render versus cycles? Way faster. At least in interior render, it's way faster. And you are introducing the acceleration methods in Lux are more modern and are introducing way less vias. In case they are introducing some vias, they are introducing way less vias than in cycles when we use simplify AO or scramble distance. So this is the result. The render time was 70 seconds. Okay, we have clamping, so we don't have the fireflies we have before here. You can see some fireflies here. With the clamping, we don't have the fireflies. We can even try with the suggested value, just to see. Slot 6. If we compare cycles and LuxCore, what's the pros and the cons each other? So, in cycles you have more nodes for proceduralism, I mean for procedural shaders in general. In cycles you have deformation motion blur, and in cycles you have a more manageable subsurface scattering. At least in my opinion, it's easier in cycles to manage subsurface scattering than in LuxCore. In LuxCore you have acoustics, you have super fast render with high quality result, you have much better environment lighting, much better sky, physical sky. In fact, we use the physical sky of LuxCore always. And in general, the look and feel that Lux delivers, it's better. This is a super simple scene, but in general, I feel that the look and feel is better. In fact, in the title of the live streaming, it said "The crown is in dispute," and this is on purpose because this is, I think, this delivers the same result of the other render engine that I won't mention here because YouTube will ban the work with the name of that render engine. But yes, I think the results are pretty similar. So now we can see the results of cycles and the results of Lux in the same time. 1.4, no, sorry, not 1.4, 4.1, 4.1 and 4.1. And this zoom level maybe is not super noticeable, but we have a lot more noise here than in LuxCore. Okay, if we leave it to render a bit more, you will notice way more. And this was one of the main tests I did. You can see some differences in the light too, because you can see how this side of this wall is lit in a much, in my opinion, a much realistic way, and a much with kind of a light ramp like in real life. Meanwhile, in Cycles, we don't have this effect. I'm not sure if we have enabled Simplify. Maybe we haven't. Yes, we have enabled Simplify. Let's disable Simplify. And let's try to render this at 300 samples again. So it should give us a much physically correct result. But this is 17 seconds, so let's render a bit less, like 250. Hello, man from Russia, but I don't know how to mention you, how to pronounce your name. Hello, welcome. Could you try IES lamp? Not here, Eric, but we did. Not here because I think I don't have any IIS file right now, but we tried, we used it and it was very well. So now we have a more similar result in this wall, but in general I tend to like more the LuxCore aspect. Okay, and I know this is super simple. Let's see more things from Lux. Okay, the casting is one of the most important things, but there are other things. For example, caustics. And for caustics, I won't compare Cycles against LuxCore because there is no reason to compare Cycles against LuxCore. Okay, caustics in Cycles are just like a secondary effect that are blurred all around, and they are non-existent when you need proper and good result caustics, the good caustics. So let's try one thing. We are going to use a monkey. Okay, let me see if it's correctly lit. Yes, this is okay. Okay, we have this monkey, and let me add a subdivision surface. Okay, this way, and it will set smooth, and we're going to use a glass material. So we have here glass, super simple, nothing more to do. But if we go to the viewport render, remember I'm on CPU for the viewport. I could enable GPU, but in general we tend to use CPU until the next release. And I'm just going to enable add light tracing. And here we have the caustics. Do you think they are fast enough? Because I think they are. So we can disable caustics, enable caustics, disable caustics, enable caustics. Don't tell me this is not amazing. Okay, this is amazing. Try to do this in Cycles. So I can do the comparison you want. I will do one thing. I will just go here, copy this object, and paste this object here. It will be in the same place. Let me create a shader for the object because right now we don't have any shader. So use nodes. Let's go to Seder Editor and let's enable the transmission, no roundness. Okay, this is the result with Cycles. This is it. Nothing more, nothing less. We can go here and we can even try to reduce this to 0.2 so we get something, and we can even remove the clamping, and not much we can do right now. So let's render the scene. Hello Edwin. Yes, I will do this video in Spanish too. Simon, if MantaFlow can export OpenVDB files, you can load those with our OpenVDB node. Otherwise, you will have to use Blender 2.81 if you want to render smoke in Lux. For the time being, Simon, as you said, or wait. So for the time being, yes, we don't have MantaFlow support yet in LuxCore, but that's just for the time being. So this is cycles. I disabled the clamping just to see if we get some caustics here. And we have adaptive sampling enabled. Keep that in mind. And now we go here and we just press render. Cycles or any other pure path tracer will suck at caustics. Well, yes and no, because LuxCore is a path tracer. It just embeds different techniques and mixes them in a clever way so they can be used together. What we are using here is path tracing. Nothing more, nothing less. Of course, let me re-render this because it had to recompile the kernel. And I think I'm going to increase a bit the render time. This was 23 seconds. Let's give Lux a bit more time to clean up this scene. 15 seconds, it's going to stop like right now. But you can see the caustics here. Again, cycles versus Lux. Okay, and you can see that we have some black spots here, and this is because we have to increase some of the bounces because we have total depth to 6. I tend to use a minimum of 8. Maybe there is no need for too much, but I want to speak about one important thing about caustics here. That is that it does not just deliver super good caustics for glass, for example, but it also delivers super good caustics for subtle caustics. So you can see here, these caustics are from, of course, from this object, but these caustics in the sailing, they are important to deliver a realistic aspect to our render result. So it's not just that it's delivering obvious, super pretty caustics from glass and other things, but it also delivering cool caustics from other materials. So we can now enable a full caustic system, because this is not the full caustic system. I will explain what's happening what's happening here now. Let me read. Lux have additional raycasts from lights. Yes, I know Lux flow lights from lamps for caustics. Exactly. Yes, and more noise in caustics, but I don't have the clamping enabled. Let's enable the clamping. And let's increase the render time to 300. We are in 1 hour. I have to finish. But this is what happens if I enable the clamping to this value. The small effect of caustics we had here is lost in cycles. It's a pity, but we don't have good caustics in cycles for the time. So we can go here. And let me remove, because it seems I have like some region. It's small, but I have some region. Okay, so we have these caustics, but this is not the whole caustic system, because for pools, for example, we need a different caustics, a different caustic system, because what this does is that it calculates the caustics that are visible from the camera, just from the camera. It does not calculate caustics that are visible from refraction. For that, we have the second type of cast we have in LuxCore, that is the here. That is the caustic light cast. If we enable caustic light cast, I'm going to leave the default settings right now. If we enable this, the render will be a bit slower. But let's go to the slot 7, for example. It will be a bit slower, but it will compute the full caustics path. Okay, not just the I think it's called SDS, I'm not sure, but the light tracing, that is the caustics we are using, and this is the visible caustics. And by the way, right now I'm using the whole CPU for the caustics. I want to change that because I'm using 64, no, not 64 threads. Because the render stopped it. Let's increase the render time a bit. This was 27 seconds. Okay, HAL conditions to, for example, 30 seconds. If I have this to 100%, it will use the CPU just for light tracing. I believe it was said BDIR was completely incompatible with live path node text, meaning a lot of optimization I'm doing wouldn't be possible. What optimization? What will work? Sorry, I got distracted. Is it rendering? It's not rendering? No. In general, we don't use BDIR because it tends to be slower for a type of scenes. So if you have a lot of caustics, a lot of effects, it may be faster, but in general, it tends to be slower for type of a scene, so we don't use BDIR. And what I mean BDIR is that because LuxCore has here the path, the engine, sorry, it could be path tracing or it could be BDIR. Now you can see that this is slower, so we may need way more time to render this. Let's reduce the light path percentage. Let me check one thing. Okay, now it seems to be a bit faster because the CPU is not used just for caustics. It's also rendering, so it's a bit faster. But now we've had caustics that have to be seen from refraction, we will be able to do so. Okay, this was another thing of LuxCore. It has caustics, but it has more things. For example, let me remove this. We have the OpenVDB loader, as Simon said before. We can create an object. It's going to be our domain for the OpenVDB. And we can go here and we can say we want material and we want smoke. Okay? And for smoke, we could assemble everything inside here, but Lux has another node editor for the volume nodes and for the texture nodes. So we are going to the volume nodes editor, and we just have to press so, and we go here. And instead of using smoke, I don't want to use smoke. I want to use OpenVDB. By the way, I think I don't have the OpenVDB file downloaded here. I have it in the other computer. Let me download it. Here it is. I'm going to download some VDBs created with Embergen. So, for example, the Dust Devil. Let me go. Okay, let me go here. And English Live 19 and save it here. And for the timing, I'm struggling a bit with some things of the OpenVDB node, but I think it's a matter of understanding correctly how it works. So it should be downloaded now. Great, let's extract here. It has a bunch of VDBs. It's a sequence. a sequence. So we just have to put here VDB. We have open VDB file. We pick the box, the cube as our domain, and open VDB file. We define file. We get the first frame, accept, and it should recognize all the frames. Why is not doing it? In Windows, it recognized all the frames. Maybe it has something to do with this. Ah, okay. It was because of the relative path. So it recognizes all the frames, and we can connect this to scattering, and we can press render. And you can see that we can see something. Maybe you can see nothing. So let's map, use the map range, the remap node, to 100. And now we have the VDB loaded. As you can see, it changed the frame number. Okay, we are inside an interior scene. What? Okay, we are going to do one thing. We're going to pick this one, paste it here, and why not we can have caustics, volumes, and everything inside. Caustics, volumes, and an interior render all at the same time, rendered in 30 seconds in 1080p, in half 1080p. It's pretty cool. Now it's compiling, it's recompiling the kernel. This is something that we won't need to do in 2.4. I'm going to be so happy not having to recompile the kernel. Okay, let's give some more time. Instead of time, let's give 1300. And let's do another thing in live streaming, sorry. I just changed the hard conditions to use 1300 samples. And let's do another thing, that I'm going to increase the adaptivity, because yes, LuxCore has adaptive sampling. So let's increase the adaptive strength to 0.95. Why? Because it works for me in most cases. So I just want it to be super adaptive. So let's render this, and let's see what's the render time. The same way as we did before, Jaffa looks for caustics plus cycles for scene. Okay. I had this thing agree, but it's not compatible with cycle tricks, but it can be added as separate path, ignoring such tricks maybe. I'm not sure what you refer. Maybe you are talking with Simon. Yes, of course, the volume is affected by caustics. It should be. It's light. And Lux is just rendering light. It will take quite a bit more. Let me do another thing. Let me disable the caustic cache and see if it still affects the volume. I think it will. If we disable the caustic light cache, we won't get the caustic scene through refraction, but we will get more speed. In this case, we don't need that refraction caustics. You can set Lux to only render caustic path and use it in compositing. Yes. Yes, I think it was in CPU mode and 100% to light rays. Okay, this is faster. And let me check. While this is rendering, I'm going to check one thing. Okay, it won't work. This is 40 seconds. We have volume affected by caustics in an interior scene, and I think you can notice that it's quite clean in 52 seconds. This is quite clean in 52 seconds. We can try 1080p, a full 1080p, okay? And we are going to enable another thing, because we have, of course, a denoiser. Right now, if you install, let me show you one thing. If you install LuxCore, you may find a problem with the denoiser. If you go to the settings of the add-on in Linux, this won't happen on Windows, this happens just on Linux. So we go to LuxCore, to blend LuxCore, and we go to bin, and you will have here the denoise file. This file has to be enabled for execution, or you won't get Open Intel Image Denoiser. Intel Open Image Denoiser, OIDN. So now I can get the noise in the viewport. The viewport denoise, it could be great if it could be improved, because right now it happens at the end, and I think, Simon, we spoke about that in Discord, and it could be improved in the future. So, but just right now it happens at the end of the halt time. So we leave the viewport to render for 10 seconds, and then it stops and it delivers the denoised version. So it could be great if we could get updates with the viewport denoised. But right now it's not so important. We can go to the render now. Not render region, no region, and we can press render. Remember, now we are at full 1080p. Let's fit the zoom frame per feet. And we are going to render it for 300 samples. So if you have questions, now I'm going to speak, while this is being rendered, I'm going to speak about a pair of things of shaders in LuxCore. It may make the render a bit slower, but it doesn't matter too much. So how can you reproduce cycles shaders in LuxCore? It's quite easy, because if you go here in material, you will get the Disney is the first implementation of the principal BSDF. In cycles we have the second one, and in LuxCore we will have the second one, I hope, for 2.4. But right now we have the first one. Let me reduce this. Okay. So we have the Disney material. So if you are familiar with the principal BSDF, you can enable this. But we have another specific materials that are pretty cool. So for example, we have the glossy translucent, is the one we use. Well, no, we used to use this one for plants, for leaves and such things. But in the end, we ended using another one because we found a bug that we have not reported yet, or some kind of bug. It may be solved already. So Simon, don't kill me because we have not reported it yet. It's our fault. So we use the matte translucent, that we will use a translucent surface, so kind of subsurface scattering. And after that, we use glossy coating. So we use this mix to get like the glossy translucent, because we found a different behavior. Let me check. This is without the denoise, okay? This has no denoise on it. No denoise. Let me repeat. There is no denoise here. It's, come on guys, this is amazing. This is an interior render. We are going to render cycles for 2 minutes and 45. This is the no denoised version. We can go to the layer and we can choose denoised, and we get the denoised version. Okay. So what do you think about this without the denoise? This noise level at 1080p in 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Let's try in cycles. So let's say 1000 samples will do. Not sure. I will stop it in 2 minutes. By the way, 1080p. 1080p. It says 5 minutes. So let's reduce this to 500 samples. Okay, 2 minutes and a half. And remember that we don't have caustics here. We don't have the smoke. We could have the smoke. In fact, in cycles, the smoke is way easier to manage, because the principal collection of nodes make so easy to reproduce any Seder, any material in cycles, that they're pretty good. The principal volume is super good, the principal hair is super good, and the principal BSDF is very good in cycles. Okay, 1 minute, no, 46 seconds, we are 46 seconds. It will take less, I think. This is a scene that can leverage a lot the adaptive sampling that we have now in cycles. This is important to know. One minute and 15 seconds, and we are not yet at 50%. And this gets worse, the render time gets worse as the scene is more complicated, because the light paths are more complicated. So the render time differences in bigger scenes are bigger, way bigger. But these tests I'm showing you are the same tests I did to decide the shift from cycles to LuxCore. After this test, I did a real production scene test, and then we saw the look depth, the feeling, the difference in the feeling of the picture, not just the speed or the features, but the difference in the feeling of the picture. LuxCore delivers, in our opinion, a way better feeling for the same scene, in our opinion. I will show you some results we have in LuxCore now. So this is 2 minutes and 17, 2 minutes 45 seconds was LuxCore. It's more or less clean in cycles. Hey. Go back to cycles. Okay, here. So this is 2 minutes 40, 55, 56. It's a bit more. 3 minutes. Okay, this is way more than 3 minutes 2 seconds. So if we go here, in my opinion, it's not a scientific opinion, it's an aspect opinion, we get much better result right now in Lux than in cycles. And as I said, we can get more speed out of LuxCore, disabling the caustics. This is important. Okay, but we get a much better result in Lux than in cycles. And of course, in Lux we get, well, in this case we have less effects, but we have here a tiny caustic, super tiny. But check this here. Well, in this case this is 2 to burn. Okay, -6. Check this here. We get these effects as the result of caustics. And if I use a very reflective surface in this part of the furniture, we will get some caustics in the ceiling, something we won't get in cycles. And you can see how the noise is more uniform here in Lux than here in cycles. Okay, so there are many things that make this faster and, in our opinion, better, especially for architectural visualization. Check this. You cannot differentiate the floor from the wall, and in this case this can be clearly differentiated. Okay, there is too much noise here and there is way less noise here. The same thing happened here. You can see that you cannot differentiate too much. You can differentiate it, but it's not too much. There is way too much noise here to make a clear difference, and you can differentiate the wall corner way better in Lux. So they are two different render engines. In my opinion, they are designed for different things. So cycles, it's perfect when you want to render an animation for a character animation scene, when you want to render something for cartoon, when you want to render something for realistic, but when you need pretty cool subsurface scattering, visual effects, or this type of things. Meanwhile, LuxCore is much better designed for architectural visualization. It can render the other things, but it lacks some shaders, like the subsurface scattering, for example, for the skin. It has subsurface scattering, okay? Don't get me wrong. It has subsurface scattering. I won't show it now because I can be here for 15, 20 hours, I don't know. But it has subsurface scattering, but it's easier to configure in cycles, and it's like more artist friendly in that way for characters. And Lux support particles, as you saw, but in cycles you may have some leverages regarding that cycles is inside Blender when we are talking about particles. In any case, our experience with Lux and particles has been very good, and I will show you an example that I saw. I saw it in the past for scatter add-on. The scatter add-on that you may know. Let me create a new scene. This scene is super cool. Come on, guys. So volume and caustics in interior. This is amazing. So let's do another thing, because we can change to LuxCore, and now the scatter add-on delivers a blend file. Let me try to show you. I think I have the... Yes. So the scatter add-on now gives you... you have to download the scatter add-on, and you have here for LuxCore users, you can download a library that is adapted to LuxCore, and I have it installed here. And I have Blender crash, but Blender starts fast. So let's enable LuxCore, and we have scatter here. Let me put a material here, Disney material, for example. And that's it. And we are with the scatter. We can get... Let's apply the scale. Let's delete this and let's create a sun. Why? Because I like the physical sky in LuxCore. So we get the Lux, we get the sun. Let's put this like this way. Okay. So now let's scatter something in the floor. So we get the floor and the biomes manager. There is nothing different here, except I'm missing some biomes because I may have broke my installation. Yes, I think so, but no matter. I will use this one. it's okay. So now we have our scatter. We can show the grass. And this is the reason why the particle export time, the first thing I showed you, is important. Because we need to be able to export big scenes with big surfaces of grass and trees and other things. And we need the render to be fast with this kind of situation. So right now we have this one. We can go here to the material, and you will see that it doesn't use the use cycles nodes. If we check the shaders, sorry, LuxCore materials, you can see a shader here. We did this translation. So the cycles shaders are from VD3D, the author of the scatter add-on, and the LuxCore shaders are totally our fault. Okay, I recognize it was our fault. So if you don't like it, go and fix it, because we like them. So go and fix it, and that's it. But we can now render this scene. Let's check. Yeah, it was working. So we can now render this scene in OpenCL, please. Let's save this scene to test grass. And that's it. It exported the particles. I need to compile the OpenCL kernel. Oh my god, I want to start using 2.4 right away. Yes, because of this. Because if it were multi-threaded, it would be such a big problem, especially in this computer. But it's not fault of LuxCore, but the OpenCL compiler, it's not multi-threaded because NVIDIA doesn't do it multi-threaded, I think. I'm not sure. So here we have the grass of the scatter add-on working right away. But the cool thing about what I said to you about the shaders is that we can go to cycles, and now let me put a sky here at least. Strength 1. Let's check that it works. Cycles, GPU. Does it work? Yeah, it works. Rendering 12. And we get the cycles version. So we don't have to decide the render engine. Well, we have to decide for the lighting, for the details, but at least we can have all our assets configured for both cycles and LuxCore. So it's pretty cool. So the LuxCore version, the cycles version. Okay. And we changed nothing in the scene but the render engine. It's really, really cool. It's very, very cool. I don't know if there is... yes, there is one more thing I want to show you. The final thing, because we are at 1 hour and a half. So I want to show you one more thing. That is displacement. And Simon, please, if you think I forgot about something, tell me in the chat and I will try to show it. So there's one more thing, that is displacement. Because yes, we have displacement now in LuxCore. So new scene. And we are going to displace, not this one. Let me remove this and add a sun. Okay, and this is the sun. Great. So we have this plane here, and we are going to subdivide the plane in geometry, I mean, a few times, because we need some geometry. And now we are going to go to live streaming, and we are going to configure the shader. We go to the shader, we create a new one, and I'm going to use, well, I'm going to show you some shaders. So for example, LuxCore material nodes, I'm going to delete one, and I'm going to use the metal. The metal is a pretty cool shader because, let me create a monkey. And let me create a different material for the floor, this new one. Because it allows you to use a color or a Fresnel texture. So we can enable Fresnel texture, and it has some cool presets, for example, gold or copper. So it's I really like the material, the metal material. It delivers pretty good results simulating metals, aluminium, for example, or gold again. It delivers pretty good result. So let's put another monkey here, but without material, and let's go to the material of the floor, where I want to show you the displacement. So how does the displacement works? We are going to use a checker, 3D. Yeah, we can try 3D. We are going to use a checkerboard. So let's add a 3D mapping, and we are going to configure this to 2, for example. And this is the texture we are going to use for the example. So now we can use displacement, height displacement, because it supports vector displacement, but we have height displacement, and we can connect this to the height. And I'm going to connect this to the geometry, to the shape input of the material output. Shape, okay, and it won't work. It won't work because yes, we have displacement, but this is not the result we want, right? We want a perfect displacement, because if we can try to disable this one to reduce the size. We want a perfect boxes. So let's do another thing. Let's reduce this to black and restart the viewport. Okay, we want perfect boxes. We don't want this to be like diagonal. We can reduce the scale a bit. Perfect. How can we get the adaptive displacement? Easy. We can use subdivision, but we don't need to use the subdivision surface modifier. We could if we want, but it won't be adaptive. So we can increase this, but it will get more time for the scene to be processed. The geometry is there, but it won't get you the micro displacement detail. So we get subdivision, and no, disconnect this. And we are going to connect subdivision, the shape, to the shape of the height displacement. No, sorry. Yes, we are going to connect the subdivision, the shape, to the shape of the height displacement, and then connect the color to the height as we had before, and then we define the levels of subdivision. For example, 4 levels of subdivision. Okay, and we get a much better subdivision, a much better speed. But we also get, I don't think we can see it here, we can enable OpenCL. In our test, in a real world situation with plants with subdivision, for example, or with floors, we get a much better memory management out of LuxCore subdivision than from cycles. Cycles right now is not working too well with subdivision, with displacement, I mean, with adaptive subdivision. And we get a much better result in LuxCore than in cycles. We can increase more the level to 6, for example. And we get a much refined displacement. But we can also do another thing, because this is not adaptive. So we can go to the material, and we have the match edge screen size. So we can enable this to 1, for example, and this is going to be ridiculous. I think we are not going to get any subdivision. Ah, yes, we get the default one. So we have to reduce this number to 0.2, for example, and it will be adaptive. 0.2 is too much. 0.02, 0.05. Now we get a better result. So we have to reduce this, 0.02, for example. A bit more. 0.01, maybe even 0.005 or whatever. Okay, 0.01 for example, and we get this memory footprint. Let's check if it's the same, but before we are going to duplicate this object, and we're going to put this object there. Okay, and let's try the render. 343 megabytes of memory. And now let's eliminate the max edge screen size, and let's render in another slot. It takes more time, and come on, is it recompiling? Maybe. It takes more memory. So let's compare both slots. 345 megabytes for this and 1.8 gigabytes for this. There is a difference, but in real world situation, this difference won't allow you to use 1.8 gigabytes of memory for this. Okay, so the adaptive displacement inside in LuxCore works very well, and it's very good. Just keep in mind that it has the same problem as by the way, I don't know, is the chat working, by the way? Because I cannot see anything. I don't know why. Okay, yes, it seems working. Let me reload just in case. Okay, so to adapt this thing, oh, it was bugged. You could show a sample scene page on the LuxCore website for anyone who wants to play with. Oh, of course, Simon, I missed all the messages you sent me. So I think the volume step settings should be a bit smaller. Yes, in the volume, in the BTV example, I didn't increase the volume step size. It was just an example, but it could be optimized. So you won't see the layers, the volume layers. You could show a sample. Yes, I'm going to do that. That the main looks dev is working on something with optics and RTX. Yes, I know, and I want to know what happens with optics and RTX. I'm really excited for Lux to support RTX, but I'm really excited. The adaptive subdivision is per object right now. It will only work if you have multiple objects. Okay. Objects farther away will be subdivided less. If you want adaptivity within an object, use the Simplified Shape. Okay, the Simplified Shape, right. The Simplified Shape is another cool thing that you can go here. For example, let's remove this one. Hey, yeah, let's remove this one. And let's render this as it is right now. Okay, so level 7, for example. I want to use all the memory I can. And I don't know why this computer is so bugged. Okay, that's it. 3.3 gigabytes of memory for this plane. And now we go to the simplify and we say, hey, preserve border and use this. Let's check the result. the only caveat I saw in the simplify node is that it's obvious, but in the end it has to do all the subdivision process and then simplify it. So it's kind of obvious, and I think it's great because it will use less memory, but it will retain as much detail as possible in the mess. But the render time, the process time is the same, or even a bit more than without the simplify. Now it's simplifying, and this is what I mean. You know what Lux is doing at any time. I really love this because I can debug the scene in case I see something weird here. It takes more. It's a pretty ridiculous example, anyways. Simplify iteration 1. It will take a while in this case. I could have used less subdivision. Meanwhile, I can show you the LuxCore website. Why? Because I want to. So there are many ways to be connected with LuxCore. One of them is through the forums. You can go to luxcorerender.org and you can go to the forums and you can talk with the developers, with Simon and with David and with many other people here, that very cool people. You can also be in contact with them using Discord. I'm not sure where is the Discord link here. I'm not sure. There should be a Discord link here so people can know about the Discord server. It's a very cool one. You can go also to download, and you can download the version you want. Keep in mind that LuxCore has two versions, with OpenCL support and without OpenCL support. Without OpenCL support is good for render frames without a GPU, so it's easier to use the LuxCore inside a render farm. And as you can see, you have support for Windows, Mac, and Linux. Also, you have the standalone version because you can export a scene for the standalone version of the render engine. And if we go to documentation, you can go to example scenes, and you have plenty of scenes to download and play with them. So I think, Simon, you updated the Canel and Fromage. This was the old one, the old example one, and you improved it for LuxCore 2.3. It's pretty cool. The result is very good. And you can set different things. For example, this is the direct light sampling cache example that will lead the scene with all these small lights. And this would be crazy with cycles or with a render engine with many light sampling. So I recommend you to try this and to play with these scenes because they will show you a lot about how LuxCore works. Let's check if the render is done. No, it is not done. It's still simplifying. I think I used too much geometry. And of course, you have another thing that is LuxCore Trello. I really love the Trello. It's not up to date continuously, it's updated from time to time, but this way you can see what are the things that were done for 2.3 and what are the things that could be implemented in 2.4. These things may or may not be implemented in 2.4. With that I mean that they are in the plan, but maybe they are not ready for 2.4 and they are delayed for 2.5. I don't know. But you can see that the plans are pretty cool. We have GeoPattern, we have Dear Shader, Lens Effects, custom normal supports. We don't have custom normal supports yet in LuxCore. Cyclist EV compatibility. The EV compatibility looks very good. Bit vertex margin, Disney hair, the principal hair Seder. Support for optics, ray path visibility improvement, upgrade for the principal Seder, so the principal Seder is on pair with the Cycles one. UDIM support, that's important to bevel Seder. We don't have bevel Seder in LuxCore, and we really want the bevel Seder. Although we have not missed it too much, but it's a very cool addition. Exclusive inclusive lighting and faster, more optimized auto process. By the way, Simon, I think this is already done in the latest version of the environment cache. I'm not sure. Let me try to open this in another window because this is killing me. Okay, and now I don't have chat. I really don't know if you are talking or not. Okay, so you can be in contact with this, and you can be in contact here. You have, here's the Discord link. So you can enter the Discord server from here, and you can see the forums. And now the computer is slow because it finished the optimization. And we went with the same visual result, okay? Same visual result, practically the exact same visual result from 1 gigabyte, from 3 gigabytes, 3.3 to 1 gigabyte. So this is the simplify node. It will take more, the pre-process time will take more because it has to optimize it, and it does a very good optimization of the result. But of course, if your priority is the memory footprint, you can reduce the memory with this and still keep using displacement. So it's very cool. And to finish this, let me finish talking about this. You can download the daily builds if you want. If you are like me that want to use the latest of the latest with the better of the better, but it may crash, you can go here. You have LuxCore or you have Blend LuxCore. I recommend you to use the Blend LuxCore releases because it's the add-on, zip it like any other add-on, and you just have to delete the old add-on and install the new one. But if you want to be on pair up to the minute to the latest compilation of LuxCore, you can do all the hassle of replacing the engine in your current add-on, etc. But I would use the Blend LuxCore. I always use the Blend LuxCore. And you can download, you can use this link to download the zip, but instead of that, you can do LuxCore, Blend LuxCore Git in YouTube, in Google, I mean, and you can go here, you can go here, and here you have the latest build. You have the latest release, the 2.3 also, and you have the latest build that is already based in 2.4, and I will test later. And finally, there is a very important thing in my opinion. This render engine needs support as Blender and as any other open source project, because this is fully open source. So you are getting such a high quality render engine being free and open source. So more collaboration is needed and more funding is needed. So if you want to collaborate, you can go to Bounty Source and you can do different things. You can place a bounty. I'm not sure how this works exactly, but you can place a bounty on a feature. And I never remember how does this works, because I always saw it from the forum. User support news. I mean, I imagine. I don't know where is the support thing. Okay, bounty source, salts and bounties. Okay, in the front you have the explanation, but you can just donate something. This is in general, this is not for LuxCore. You can just place a bet, or you can a bid for a feature, or you can just donate something. You can donate from $5 to $100 to $10,000 if you want. It will help the team a lot. So I asked for some support for LuxCore, for the LuxCore render project, because they are doing a super good work here. They are doing an amazing render engine that many of us that we are using Blender for architectural visualization can leverage. So more support is required. Of course, you can collaborate in many other ways. For example, spreading the work of LuxCore, showing your work of LuxCore. And by the way, I'm going to show you some of our work done with LuxCore Render. Let me load the website. Because I want to finish with another announcement that is interesting. I don't know if you know Llama from Motiva CG, and if you don't know Llama, I recommend you to check Llama. I'm going to show you the result of Llama. But right now, these 3 pictures and these 3 pictures are LuxCore. We have more, but in the gallery we just have these ones. Okay, this is LuxCore. This is LuxCore, and the speed of render of these scenes were amazing. This is a bathroom that in cycles we were doing before shifting to LuxCore. We were doing this bathroom in cycles, and it was hard to do because the light was hard to use. In this case, this is lit just with the original lights of the room. We are not using any trick or anything. This is just the light of the room. This is LuxCore 2. It's the results are super amazing. This is LuxCore, and this is an exterior example of LuxCore 2. So it's pretty amazing. Now, just to show you, this is Llama. I recommend you to go to Motiva. I will show you. And Llama right now is compatible with Blender, and it's compatible with LuxCore Render too. It's compatible with cycles, it's compatible with LuxCore, and it's not compatible, but you can use it with Eevee. And what is the difference between Llama and a standard 360 walkthrough? Well, this is the standard 360 walkthrough. We can go here, and okay, we do kind of a fade, right? But with Llama, we can go here, and we move over this scene, and it delivers a much better experience for the user and a much better feeling of the space. So I recommend you to check Llama because it's not expensive at all. Let me show you the website. This is their website. Okay, this is not their website. This is the price, by the way. For the time being, this is the price. And if we go to software Motiva Llama, this is their website. Okay, so it's compatible with Max and Corona Render. I think it's compatible with Rewrite too, but it's also, and I think it's important, it's also compatible with LuxCore. Keep in mind that these renders don't have any kind of compositing, post-production or anything, and they were done with a low quality because we were doing some testing of the system. So this is not the final quality you can get in the render result, but it's pretty cool that Llama is compatible. So as you see, LuxCore is more and more getting support from the industry. It's a pretty cool render engine if you do architectural visualization. I recommend you to download it, to use it in your commercial projects. If you can help the project, please help the project. It will benefit all of us. It will benefit all of us for sure. And that's it for today. I hope you liked it. 2 hours! 2 hours! I'm crazy. Okay, so subscribe to the channel. I will try to do some kind of sorted tutorial. And I just scratched the surface of LuxCore. Subscribe for the time, because I have an announcement to do soon about some course that will start soon too. So subscribe so that you don't miss the announcement. Press the little bell and press the like if you liked this live streaming, even if it was 2 hours long. So see you in the next live streaming. Bye everyone. Thanks.